after our assumptions, what we can now do is compare different staking behaviors, which is now the most interesting part of the whole keynote. So here in our example, we just named the two person A and person B. Person A, on the one hand side, stakes 150,000 HEX for just 1 year, but after this year, he restakes his principal or her principal, including all the accrued interest for another year, and does that 15 times in a row. So person A is compounding his HEX 15 years. And on the other hand side, person B stakes his 150,000 HEX, so the same principle at first, but person B stakes it right away for 15 years, so until end of 2035. And we choose these two staking behaviors to show you why longer pays better. And the most important outcome of this whole example is the difference between the two persons, because basically both are staked for 15 years. Person A only has his HEX liquid once per year, so like a little bit more flexible approach. But right after that, he restakes again. He restakes again right after that. And therefore, this comparing right now is all about the difference between the two persons.
So now we can calculate how many T-shares our two persons will get. For person B, it's very easy. We just looked it up last week on go.hex.com. For person A, we did the same, but only for 1 year. We also had to assume how many T-shares this person will get by restaking every year. Since other bigger stakes will set a new share rate, our person A will not get the same amount of shares, even if he restakes his whole interest. As there is a 10% bigger pays better bonus in HEX, we assume that our person A will lose about 5% of its shares every year. In the next slide, we show you the interest both persons will make.
Yes, so we calculated the accrued interest for every year for both persons, because with our assumptions in the first place, we were now able to do that. And in the end, which is marked right here in the presentation, you see the total interest accrued after 15 years for the different people. We calculated it by taking the yearly average of our assumed daily payout per T-share, or like of our calculated daily payout per T-share, which has the underlying assumptions of the total payout, of the total daily payout and the total share pool. And now we are going to show you those numbers in the form of different graphs to get a better picture of it.
You can see both persons make very good interest gains in interest. The biggest gains in interest for both persons will be accomplished in the last third of their duration. Person B will beat the total interest of person A at the shown point, which is after 2029.
Exactly. So they both start with the same amount of money. Person A just takes a slightly flexible approach, but person B sees the value of the new form of staking which HEX has to offer, and will make the same amount of interest like 6 years before person A will get to that point, you know? So when person A is finished here, person B reaches this level already after not even 10 years. And let's go on. What we are going to show you right here is both persons individually. So at first, you see the principal and interest in HEX for person A. So we start here at the 150,000 line, and you see a nice compounding effect, which brings us to a 5.5x in the end, which is pretty nice compared to every other traditional asset. And compared to that, person B. So again, person B stakes his 150,000 HEX, so, same starting point, but he's taking it for 15 years, which brings a much more compounding effect and a 20.2x. And here, to sum it up, you see both persons combined, and only when you see both staking behaviors like on the same charts, you see the huge difference of the two, because person B makes almost 4x more than person A. And you can now consider if more flexibility is really needed for staking your HEX. And now we are coming to the last chart of our keynote right here. So you did it, people. And this is the individual APY. So APY stands for annual percentage yield for those two individual stakes. So here you see the power of the T-shares again. And the longer you hold on to them, the more value they become in the long term. So you don't see a huge gap in the first 10 years, but after that, the gap is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And our 15-year staker makes nearly 500% APY in his last year, because the longer you hold on to your T-shares, the more valuable they become.